This is page 209 in the perspective of Zlatka. Another train. Given no choice, we all boarded. Like the sheep the soldiers assumed we had become. The train rumbled onward. We all rode in open boxcars. No food, water, shelter, or warmth. Just a bucket and the winter's cold wind. Miraculous food. White, flaky, wet, cold, delicious. No manna from heaven. Snow. Ravensbrook. 4 days in the cattle cars, a new camp, a new Juden ramp, a new selection. Too hard for us to stay together, on the death march, on the train. I didn't know what happened to the French girls, most of the others. Were they even alive? How could we have survived so much only to have it end now? Paraded before guards and doctors, to the left, to the right. Too crowded. My head, too heavy to hold up, rested in my hands. Auschwitz was better than this, I said. Not enough food, beds, blankets. Only a zelt. Canvas walls did not stop the wind. Concrete floor, thin-laid straw did not stop the cold. Too many women, no room to lie down, to even breathe. The girls and I were lucky. We found a patch of cold concrete. Hundreds more slept outside in the snow. But what worried me more, there wasn't any work. If they do not need us to work, do they need us at all? 2 stories. To pass the time, we told each other stories. Sometimes the truth, sometimes our dreams. Sometimes I could not tell the difference. I told the story of Passover. Jewish slaves led out of Egypt by God's hand with nothing to eat but manna from heaven. From bondage to freedom. Fanya told the story of a wondrous heart made of paper but stronger than muscle, forged in defiance, in secret, in friendship, that beat inside her chest. It's Saturday. Everything. Ravensbrook. I am writing here, on this paper, because there is no more birthdays. One of our girls and my boyfriend, which I don't know where they are, I can only surmise that they are free by now. Near me are Zlatka, Fanya, Branya, Fila, and a lot of people which I know. Branya is sitting and she is crying. She is freezing. My dear God, when is this all going to be the end of it all? Really, will we ever have a better tomorrow? We are so young and have so much life in front of us. Malchow. I never knew how long we stayed in Ravensbrook. Time melted, then froze, cold and unrelenting. It could have been weeks or months. It was still cold when we started another march. 45 miles in the North German wind, thinking only of putting one foot in front of the other. 5 steps at a time. No other choice. Another armament factory. Malchow. Buried underground, hidden from the planes that flew overhead. Who would arrive first? In Malchow there were blocks, crowded and filthy, but out of the freezing rain. But there was no food, no water. We were all accustomed to starvation, but no water put us closer to death than we had ever been. Having long lost our bowls, the girls and I held spoons out in the rain. Too anxious to wait until the spoon filled, we lapped up the drops and smiled. There was no work in Malchow either. So still I wondered, if they do not need us to work, do they still need us at all? The girls and I waited for freedom, which would come either from the Red Army or death. Another day in April. The Red Army drew close enough to hear. The rumble of tanks, explosions of artillery, echoed through the spring air, drawing closer every day. My heart nearly exploded with joy at the sounds. Malchow was evacuated. Another march to nowhere. No plan, no destination. Soldiers as young as Iser, more frightened than I, ordered to march us prisoners away. Some women, too weary to go on, left behind to a fate worse than marching. Every day I marched was another day I lived. Who's frightened now? When planes flew overhead, the soldiers hid cowered under trees, muttering fears of being captured by the Soviets. When bombs fell, most of the soldiers ran away, too frightened of capture, of death. The ones who stayed paid little attention to us. Fanya, Branya, Guta, Giza, and I were too weak to think of escape, of rebellion, only surviving. We took turns standing guard, over each other at night. Death watched us more closely than the soldiers. A heavy price. I watched a girl cry, hold her stomach, and beg a soldier for something to eat. Later, the girl had a chocolate bar. I didn't know the price the girl had paid for it. The girl didn't share, she simply swallowed it in 2 bites. That night, the girl cried, held her stomach, and begged the soldier for help. In the morning, she was dead. On the banks of the Elbe River. One night, bombs rained down, flashing bright as day. The soldiers fled. For the first time in longer than any of us could remember, Fanya, Branya, Guta, Giza, and I were not watched, guarded prisoners. We were free, but we did not have strength to walk another step or knowledge of where to go. Guta found a ditch. Branya and Giza found planks of wood. Fanya and I covered the ditch with the wood, and we slept, huddled together in the ditch. And still. When the silence of sleep settled, I heard a rustle of paper, of whispers of promises. Fanya's silhouette reached under her dress, withdrew the heart, unfolded it, cradled it, as if it were her beating heart. She hugged it, kissed it, tucked it back under her arm. The silence of sleep descended, but not before I marveled how Fanya had held on to the heart for so long.